So last class period, we talked about what a matrix is. We also talked about how to set matrices equal to each other, how to add and subtract. We talked about scalar multiplication. And before we left, we talked about how to determine if two matrices can be multiplied or not. So on this page, we saw that the ones on the left-hand side could not be multiplied, and the ones on the right-hand side could be multiplied. The reason why is because the columns in the first matrix are going to be the same or equal the same number of rows as the second matrix. So that's why we kept checking these little arrows. We checked the columns in the first to see if it matched the rows on the second. This information that we did is going to help us with actually completing these notes here. So at the top of the page, I'm going to zoom this in, kind of rearrange it. In order to multiply matrices A and B, and those matrices can be any kind of dimension, you want to make sure that the number of columns in the first matrix A are going to equal the same number of rows in matrix B. If you can multiply it, so if the product is defined, the solution for your matrix, so the order of products, so the solution of your matrix is the same as the order of products, or the dimension of your product, is going to be the same number as the rows of the first matrix and the columns in the second matrix. So we already kind of looked at this on the last page whenever I was showing you guys what we had done last class period. So I'm just going to briefly go through how to determine if these are defined or if they're undefined. So we look at the columns in the first and the rows in the second. So columns in the first matrix, rows in the second matrix. These two numbers don't match. So since they don't match, we're going to say that this is undefined. There's no way for me to multiply this later on. Same thing with the next one. Columns in the first do not match the rows in the second. So unfortunately, we cannot multiply this. For the last one, though, we have the columns in the first matrix match the rows in the second. Columns in the first match the rows in the second. That's good. That means that this is defined, and we can actually multiply it. When we multiply it, our order of product, so pretty much the dimensions of what your multiplication is going to be the 2 from the front and the 3 from behind it. So the 2 from A and the 3 from B. So 2 by 3 matrix. Okay, so let's talk about actually multiplying these. So we've talked about how we can tell if we can multiply. We've already looked to see what we need to check. Now let's actually look at the questions below to see which ones can be multiplied and what the answers will look like. So I'm going to give you some very brief steps and then we'll kind of go on. So the steps for multiplying matrices. First, you're going to check the dimensions and make sure that, or to determine the size of the solution or of the solution matrix. So you want to check the dimensions first to see if you can even multiply the two, and then determine if it's possible the solution. So what's the dimensions of your solution going to be? After you do that, you're going to multiply. This should be multiply the corresponding entries for the specific row from your first matrix and the column from your second matrix. And then after that, we're going to simplify using any addition and subtraction that's needed. So for the examples that follow, it says find the indicated matrix products if possible using the matrices listed below. If not possible, label this as undefined. So if we can't multiply something, always read the directions, guys, because sometimes I'll either put undefined or I'll put not possible, which isn't too often. So let's just go back to basics and look at example 1. Example 1 is very simple. This is not a multiplication of two matrices. It's just a scalar multiplication like we did last class. It looks just like this. We're going to take that matrix, whatever it is, and we're going to multiply every entry, every element, by 5. So for this one, let's go ahead and do it. So I'm going to rewrite the -2, put my bracket for G. G is a 1 by 3. So let me actually shorten that a bit. 1 by 3. So it's a 1 by 3 matrix. So -2, 1, and -4. And I know you're like, oh, Ms. Toppy, we could just distribute. Still show me that you're multiplying all of these. All of the steps I'm showing you is how to get full credit on your tests and quizzes. I need to see how you got each of your answers. So when I multiply this out, I'm going to get 4, -2, and 8. That would be my answer. Next is telling me to multiply BC. So B and C are two different matrices. So unlike number 1, notice I didn't check the dimensions. For number 2, I do need to check the dimensions. So Emma S., what's the dimensions or order for matrix B? 3 by 3? And I want to see if I can multiply that by C. What's the dimensions for C? 3 by 1. Emma S., can we multiply these? Yes. The row or columns in the first match the rows in the second. So I'm going to write out next to it the order of your product. So when you do multiply it, you should get a what type of matrix, Emma? Take the rows from the first and the columns in the second. Say it again. 3 by who? Not 3. We have the 3 from here, and these two match, so that means you can multiply it. We're going to take this last number and put it for our columns that we're going to use. So our dimensions for our product is going to be 3 by 1. Okay, so let's multiply this out. Before you start drawing a bunch of things and trying to copy what I'm doing, just put your pencil down and look first, and then I'll tell you guys when to start copying. So B is a 3 by 3, C is a 3 by 1. So I'm going to draw this out. Give me a second to draw this out first, and then I promise I will wait for you guys to do it as well. I'm going to put the B matrix down here, so just watch. You're going to do 6, -4, 1, -2, 1, and -3, 3, -3, and -2. Notice that I'm giving myself a lot of space. There's methods to my madness, guys. And then C is this matrix here. It's a vertical 3 by 1, so we're going to do -4, 3, and -1. What I'm going to have to do is multiply this row by this column. So what I'm trying to do is help you organize your work. This space in here is going to be all of the numbers that we need to multiply to get that first value for my product. And then same thing here. All of these numbers I'll have to multiply by the column. All of these numbers I'll have to multiply by the column. So you guys recreate this and also put this is my C column along the top. So go ahead and recopy. I'll wait for you guys to catch up with me. One thing that you will be thankful for is making your table or chart as big as you need to. So if you need to use the backs of the pages, I purposely made them all blank. So in case you need to do an obnoxiously large chart, I am okay with it. When you're done, look with the person next to you. Make sure you guys have the same chart as I do. As you guys start getting better at this, as you start doing more and more questions, you won't always have to draw this out, but as you're learning it, organizing your work is the first step to being successful in anything. All right, can I move on? Hey, Juan, can I move on? No, go ahead. Let me know when you're done. The most important part, guys, is getting this chart completely done first. The rest of this is going to be really quick and simple after this. So what we're going to do now, again, put your pencil down, look up so that way you know what we're doing. What we're going to do is we're going to take all of these numbers, and it said we are going to multiply by this row. So we're not just going to take this 6 and distribute it to all 3 of these. We're just going to do one element at a time. So the first number in each, we're going to multiply. 6 times -4, that is this 4 here. I'm going to add that to -4 times 3. Don't write this out. Don't worry, I'll give you time. And then the last one we'll do is 1 times -1. I usually will put all of these in parentheses so you can see exactly what you're multiplying. Give me some nods or shakes. Does that make sense? So for this row down here, what am I going to multiply with -2? What number? And that's that -4 that's up here in this corner. So we're going to do -2 times -4 plus what's next? 1 and 3, this 3 here. So make sure you're looking at the correct space. And then the last thing, what are you going to multiply? -3 and -1. Go ahead and get your pencil, copy this down. And then while you guys are copying, when you get to that last row, go ahead and fill it in. We'll worry about adding and multiplying in a second, but I want you to at least see what you're multiplying. So I have my last row multiplied out. So I'm multiplying 3 and -4, -3 and 3, and then 2 and -1. All you need to do now, guys, is basic multiplication and addition. So you guys have a calculator, so you can use it if you need to. 6 times 4 is going to give me -20. Let's try this again. -24. Thank you. -24. -4 times 3 is -12. And 1 times -1 is just -1. Notice that I'm putting the numbers that are in negative in parentheses because I'm about to plug this in my calculator. So in my calculator, I'm going to do -24. So we've already talked about this. Type in the 24, hit the negative button. It'll make it negative. Plus, we're going to do -12. Plus, we're going to do -1. So that first number is going to be -37. Notice that after I did all of the addition and multiplication, I just circled it. This is the number that I'm going to use for my order of product at the end, so that answer. All right, let's do the next row. 2 times 4 is +8. 1 times 3, please don't tell me 4, that should be 3. -3 times -1 is +3. From here, you're just going to add 8 plus 3 plus 3. We'll do the same thing for that last row. 3 times 4 is -12, plus 3 times 3 is -9, because this 3 is negative, plus this is -2 times -1, which is going to give me a +2. What's -12 plus -9 plus 2? -19. So if I wanted to write this, because my solution is supposed to be a 3x1 matrix. 3x1 means there are 3 rows and 1 column. So I'm going to draw this out. One big column, and there are 3 rows. In those rows, you're going to put the values you found, -37, 14, and -19. Yes, ma'am?
It doesn't matter what order you put it in.
Yes, it does matter which order you put it in, because if you put the 37, for instance, down here at the bottom, that's not the product for this row times this column. So make sure that you put the 37 first, -37, then the 14, then the 19, -19. That's your answer. So it seems like a lot of extra work, but I know you guys like to try to skip ahead, so I wanted to go through this in detail first before you guys start to skip ahead, which I'm perfectly fine with. Give me some nods or shakes. Is this pretty simple? Okay, cool. I'm going to move a little faster for the next question, which is number 3. I'm telling you now, guys, we're doing number 3 on the back. I'm going to help you start it off, but you're going to finish it. So make a little note. Your work is going to be on the back. So before we try to even solve it, we first need to check something. Melanie, read that first sentence at the top of your steps. What did it say to check for? The dimensions and what else? The size of your solution matrix. So we need to even see if we can actually solve this. So E, if I look at E, Alec, what's the dimensions for E? 2 by 2, and I'm trying to multiply it by A. What are the dimensions for A? 2 by 4. Can I multiply those, Alec? Alec, your voice has traveled and changed. Alec, can I multiply these? Okay, good. Since these 2's match in the middle, the columns in the first match the rows in the second, what's the order of your product going to be, Alec? Perfect. 2 by 4. So your order of your product for question 3 is going to be 2 by 4. You're okay? Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and flip this paper over, and I'm going to make an obnoxiously large chart on the back because, like I said, especially if you want to make sure you have enough space, I would be over ambitious and make a fairly large chart so that way you have everything you need. So let me show you guys how I'm going to draw mine, and you can choose to draw yours the same way or you can change it just a bit. So let me show you what I'm drawing. Let me zoom out a bit. So we're going to have E times A. This is a 2 by 2 matrix, and I'm going to be multiplying it by A, which is a 2 by 4 matrix. On your tests and quizzes, guys, I have no issue with giving you extra computer paper so you can make obnoxiously large matrix multiplication charts. I am fine with it. And one thing you're going to notice, I'm purposely making more space on the top where A is. There's methods to my madness. Y'all know that by now. So I'm going to make more space. You'll see why in a second. And I'm just recopying the chart that I have on the first page. So just like we did on the last page, I need to see, okay, what exactly am I multiplying? So on the last page, we took the first row and multiplied it by the only column that that matrix had, which was this one here. So we're going to do the same thing, but we're not just going to multiply it by the first column. We now have to take this row and multiply it by this column, and this column. Like I said, the bigger you make your matrix, it's honestly a little bit better because you'll have more space to put your work. Once you have this drawn out, y'all don't need me. Y'all can multiply and add, but I'll go through this in just a second. So if you think you know what you're doing, you can skip ahead. Guys, if I tell you to multiply E times A, don't switch it around to make it A times E, because if you switch it, the dimensions won't be the same and you won't be able to multiply. So whatever I give you, take what I give you and multiply it. Okay, so let's multiply. We're going to do negative 5 times 3 first, plus negative 2 times the first 2. That's a negative 2. In that next box, we're going to do negative 5 times negative 2, plus negative 2 times negative 1. Next box, we're going to do negative 5 times negative 3 plus negative 2 times 7. Negative 5 times 2 plus negative 2 times 0. I took this row and multiplied it by this column, this column, this column, and this column. I multiplied it by every single column. I'll simplify these boxes in a second, but I'm just going to write out what I need to multiply so I could just plug and chug in my calculator. All right, for the next one, we're going to do negative 1 times 3 plus 3 times 2. Negative 1 times negative 2 plus 3 times negative 1. Remember, we're taking this row and multiplying it by the same columns that we just did for that first row. Negative 1 times negative 3, 3 times 7. And then the last column, negative 1 times 2 plus 3 times 0. Once you have all of the product stuff multiplied or written in your chart, you can start plugging it in, multiplying it in your head, adding and subtracting it. It's not that difficult. So I'm giving people who are still copying a little bit more time, but if you know you've already gotten this, you're good. You can move on. Finish multiplying it out. So this will become negative 15 plus negative 4, which is going to turn into negative 19. 5 times 2 is 10 plus 2. It's going to give me 12. 5 times 3 is 15 plus 2 times 7 is negative 14. So that's going to add to 1. And then 5 times 2 is negative 10 plus 0, because 2 times nothing is nothing, which will give me negative 10. All of this work, guys, I need to see on your tests and quizzes if you want any kind of credit. If you're like, oh, it's too much work, I don't want to have to do it. Okay, well, it'll be too much work for me to have to give you more points on your tests and quizzes. So make sure you show me as much work as possible. Finish multiplying that second row. I'm giving you a chance. We wrote this on the front side of the page for question 3. We said that your order of products will be a 2 by 4 matrix. So that means there needs to be 2 rows, which we have here, and 4 columns for your solution. So down here, I'm going to write the product for this as 2 rows and 4 columns. So I'm just going to write that out for my numbers that I found. Negative 19, 12, 1, negative 10, and then 3, negative 1, 24, and negative 2. That's the only other thing I would definitely do is make sure that you actually write out what that product is going to look like. What's that order of product? That was the whole point of us finding it. All right, so we're going to look at numbers 4, 5, and 6. So for numbers 4, 5, and 6, try not to make this difficult. Remember, guys, if I'm moving too fast, please let me know. Is there anybody who's not done with this? Okay. All right, so for number 4, based on what Melanie read to me let's try this again. Based on what Melanie read to me earlier, I need to check the order for this matrix. So E is, if I look back at the first page, a 2 by 2 matrix. So E is a 2 by 2 matrix, and C is a 3 by 1 matrix. Can I multiply these? But these 2's are the same. What am I looking specifically for? The what in the first one, the what in the second one? Columns in the first, which is here, and those 2 numbers don't match, so make this answer undefined. I underline that in orange on the first page. If you can't multiply it, write that it's undefined. F and D. Sage, what are the dimensions for the F matrix on the first page? 2 by 3. And what are the dimensions for the D matrix? Can you multiply these, Sage? 3 and 2 don't match, so this is undefined. Okay, now we need to look for question 6. Question 6 says D squared. What does that mean? Luis? Say it again? Yes. Sorry, what were y'all saying? D times D? So you're multiplying it by itself. Yes, that's exactly it. So D times D is the same thing as D squared. What are the dimensions on D, though? 2 by 2. It shouldn't affect your answer. You should still be able to multiply, but still double check it just in case. This is a 2 by 2 matrix that's being multiplied literally by itself. This will help you, though, since both of these are the same. The columns in the first match the rows in the second. What's the order of your product going to be? That's why I needed that 2 by 2. So I have enough space to do it here. I'm not going to do b squared, but b squared will be fun for your homework. So for question 6, I'm going to make a decent amount of space to show my product, my multiplying. I'm going to put D along the bottom and D along the side. So my D matrix on the first page is 1, 7, negative 3, negative 3. And then again, 1, 7, negative 3, negative 3. You're literally multiplying it twice. Once I have that, I'm going to split my rows and I'm going to split my columns. So in here, I'm going to write out what I'm going to multiply. So in this first row, I'm going to multiply 1 times 1 in the first column, plus I'm going to multiply 7 times negative 3 in the second column, or first column, this guy still. Next box, I'm going to multiply 1 times 7, this 7 here, plus this 7 for the row times the column, negative 3. Next row, negative 3 times 1 plus negative 3 times negative 3. So this negative 3, this negative 3. Last box, we're going to do negative 3 times 7 plus negative 3 times negative 3. So we're going to multiply. 1 times 1 is 1 plus negative 21. 1 times 7 is 7 plus, again, negative 21. 3 times 1 is negative 3 plus 3 times 3, which is 9. And then 3 times 7 is negative 21 plus 3 times 3, which is positive 9. I could have actually simplified each of these, but I mean, there's multiple ways. So we're going to make our answers negative 20, negative 14, 6, and negative 12. So I'm going to kind of box off this space for b squared. So for question 6, I'm going to extend it here to write my answer. The order of your products is 2 by 2. So 2 rows by 2 columns. I'm going to write out my answers. I'm going to have negative 20, negative 14, 6, and negative 12. That's your answer for 6. Give me some nods or shakes. Is this okay? All right, we're going to probably look at 2 last questions, and then we're done. Let's look at question number 8. So I'm going to purposely look at question number 8. With question number 8, I actually want you guys to change it. And when you guys change it, you're going to solve it. So cross this one out, the one that's currently there. And I want you to put this one instead, e times d squared. So we already multiplied d squared, right? That was on the last question. If we hadn't have multiplied this, what you would have to do is pretty much do like order of operations. You would need to simplify what's in here first. So you would have to do this multiplication and then take this solution and do what with it? Multiply it by what? E. Don't switch the order around. Keep E first and then put D squared. So E from the first page is a 2 by 2 matrix here. So we're trying to see if we can multiply this 2 by 2 matrix times which matrix am I going to multiply for D squared? The one in blue or the one in pink? Pink, because this answer, if you want to write this out, this answer is D squared. That's your answer for D squared. So we're going to take the pink matrix and multiply it by the E matrix, which is right here. So let me show you what you guys are going to multiply out. D squared is 2 by 2. Can I multiply these? Yes. So my order of product is going to be a 2 by 2 matrix. All right, so let me use the space, this big open space that I have to try to graph or kind of organize what I'm going to do. I'm going to draw my organization chart. I'm going to put E first, and then I'm going to put D squared. E from the first page is going to be here, which is -5, -2, -1, and 3. And then you guys told me D squared is what we just solved in pink. So in pink, we're going to put that -20, 6, -14, and -12. Right now, you guys solve it. All I'm going to do after my little timer goes off is I'm just going to post what the answer is. So you guys right now, go ahead and multiply that out. Take a second, check my answers with yours, make sure they look right. We have a 2 by 2 matrix, which are going to have 88, 94, 38, and negative 22 as solutions. Double check my numbers and solutions, guys. Do these look right? Okay, perfect. So the last couple things I want to mention are, if you look at this question here, I just want to mention this briefly. I'm not going to do this question, but it would be nice if you could. This question is not asking you to find the product of two matrices. It's asking you to find the scalar multiplication for one and the scalar multiplication for another. Once you find those products, you're going to add those solutions together. So you're going to multiply the D matrix by -1, multiply the E matrix by 3, and then those solutions you're going to multiply. So if you choose to do question 9 later, that's a good idea. If not, I mean, it's up to you. It's definitely there for your final exam in case you want to look at it. Okay, for question number 8, we're going to look at this very quickly. So this one says 3 teams participated in a debating competition. The final score for each team is based on how many students ranked first, second, and third place in a debate. The results of the 12 debates are shown in matrix A. It specifically says for matrix A, for part A, teams earn 6 points for first place, 5 points for second place, and 3 points for third place. Organize this information into matrix B. So matrix B is going to be a vertical column with 6, 5, and 3. Because remember, these are for first place, second place, and third. So for your B matrix, let me make this 6 prettier. We're going to put 6, 5, and 3. So that's for your B matrix. The last thing says for you to do the product of A and B. So what we're going to do is find the product of A and B. So product of A, this is going to be a 3 by 3 matrix. This is literally matrix A. So matrix A is a 3 by 3. I need to see if it can multiply by a 3 by 1. It can. So since it can, the order of your product is going to equal 3 by 1. So over here in this space, you guys can multiply it for A and B. Multiply this out. Put your matrix here, put your vertical matrix here, and multiply it out. Especially since I'm running short on time, I'm going to give you guys the answer to this. The product of A and B, the 2 or 3 by 1 matrix that you should get, is 55, 55, and 60. So it looks like for me, probably that team 3 is probably going to win this because they're probably going to have the most points. On your tests and quizzes, guys, I need to see all of the work that we've been showing all day today, and I also need to see that you understand how to multiply this out. So take the time to multiply each of these. The last couple pages are completely extra practice, and I've included the answer keys for each in case you're interested.